I think we've all had those moments where we felt like we were drowning in all the technical details, right?
Yeah, those late nights hunched over a keyboard, desperately trying to debug code. That's a feeling a lot of researchers know all too well.
Too well. And that's what we're diving into today. A paper that's exploring whether AI could be the answer to, well, maybe not all, but at least some of our research woes.
It's an exciting thought, isn't it?
It really is. So can AI handle the really nitty-gritty of setting up and actually running experiments?
And that's the big question.
The paper we're looking at is called Evaluating Agents on Setting Up and Executing Tasks from Research Repositories.
Catchy title.
Definitely. And they've given this whole system a pretty bold name. Super.
Well, the name certainly grabs your attention, doesn't it? And what I find intriguing about this research is that they're not just testing AI in some kind of, idealized bubble. They're throwing these AI agents into the real world, tasking them with, working with, get this, actual research repositories.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't, living and breathing the research world every day, what exactly does that mean? What are research repositories?
Sure. Essentially, they're these online platforms where scientists share their code and data to make their research more accessible, more open.
Okay.
Think of it like a vast library of information, but instead of dusty old books, you've got lines of code and data sets.
Ah, so not quite your typical library visit then.
Not quite, although I think some might argue that they can be just as overwhelming, just as intimidating.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And I bet that navigating these repositories can be, well, pretty tricky, even for seasoned researchers.
You're absolutely right. Even just getting a basic experiment up and running from these repositories can be a real challenge.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The paper actually highlights this, that this initial setup, just getting things going, it's a major bottleneck in research. And that costs valuable time and resources.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's where, at least in theory, AI could come in. The hope is that it could streamline that whole process.
So we could just feed an AI a research paper and say, okay, replicate this.
Exactly.
Wow. No more painstakingly setting up the environment, debugging code, troubleshooting all those dependencies. That would be incredible.
It'd be a game changer.
Okay, so that's the dream scenario. But how do they actually test if AI is really up to this? Do they literally just point it at a research paper and say, go?
It wasn't quite that simple. But I like the way you think. They designed this system, Super, to be a benchmark, to specifically see if AI can actually handle let's just say the often messy and unpredictable nature of real-world research.
So no pressure on these AI agents then?
None at all. And to be honest, they didn't make it easy on them. The tasks they used to test these AI agents were pulled from a variety of lesser-known research repositories, which means the AI couldn't rely on any pre-existing solutions or, get by with super detailed instructions.
It's like asking someone to navigate a new city without a map or a GPS.
Exactly. The researchers really wanted to see how these AIs would perform when they were faced with ambiguity, with unexpected errors, and those kind of cryptic instructions that, well, frankly, only a programmer could love.
So they've basically designed this research obstacle course for these AI agents. What kind of tasks did they actually include in this challenging environment they created?
Well, they really ran the gamut. Some of them were, more straightforward, like identifying and fixing a specific code error.
Okay.
But others were far more complex, like challenges where the AI had to try to replicate an entire experiment from scratch.
Well,
yeah. And this range was intentional. It really allowed the researchers to pinpoint where the AI excelled and maybe more importantly, where it struggled.
So it's like they were really trying to assess the full spectrum of what an AI researcher could potentially do. So how did these AI agents do? Were they able to rise to the challenge?
The results are really quite fascinating. It turns out that AI is actually quite adept at following very specific instructions. So, for example, if you tell the AI to, say, adapt some code to run on a CPU instead of a GPU, it can do that quite efficiently.
Okay. So they excel at those really, really precise coding tasks. That makes sense.
Right.
It's like having a hyper-efficient research assistant who can handle all those tedious but necessary coding adjustments.
Exactly. But, and here's where it gets really interesting, while they were amazing at those kinds of structured tasks, they really struggled with anything that required a deeper level of understanding or nuance.
Can you give an example of what you mean by nuance in this context?
Yeah, so one of the biggest hurdles for the AI was dealing with data. If a data set wasn't perfectly formatted or if the instructions on how to use it were even slightly ambiguous, the AI really, really struggled.
So even AI hates cleaning data.
It seems so.
Okay. That's strangely reassuring to hear. But seriously, does this mean that, data scientists can breathe a sigh of relief? Or are we just talking about their roles kind of evolving as AI starts to take on more of these more data-heavy tasks?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think this research really suggests that, at least for now, while AI can definitely handle some aspects of data processing, those higher-level analytical and interpretive skills are still very much in demand, at least for now.
It's like we kind of take for granted how much context and intuition we actually bring to research, especially when it comes to data. And this research with these AIs is really highlighting that hidden complexity of what we do.
Absolutely. And the paper's analysis really drives this point home. It seems like AI, at this stage anyway, excels at the doing part of research, But it's that thinking part, the critical thinking and the problem solving where, at least for now, humans still hold the advantage.
So are we headed towards a future where AI is like a really powerful tool, but still a tool? Like in the researcher's arsenal, sort of like a super-powered research assistant that can handle those tedious tasks, but still really needs a human at the helm to guide the entire research process.
That's a very apt analogy, and I think it's a very exciting prospect. Because if we can successfully offload those repetitive, time-consuming elements of research to AI, well, it frees us up to really focus on those truly creative, intellectually stimulating aspects of the work. Imagine having more time to actually brainstorm, to delve deeper into the literature, to really connect the dots and explore those bigger picture questions.
So it's like we're on the cusp of this really fascinating shift in the entire research landscape. But like with any new technology, there are bound to be challenges and new questions to address as we move forward. So it sounds like this research is really pushing us to kind of rethink those roles, right? Like the role of AI and the role of actual humans in this world of research. Are we seeing the dawn of a more collaborative future between AI and humans?
Yeah. I think that's a very, very likely scenario. I mean, we've seen this kind of pattern with, other technologies as they've come along, right? Like the introduction of any new tool often leads to this period of adaptation where we as humans kind of have to figure out how to best integrate these new tools into our existing workflows. And research is no different.
So instead of these AI agents like coming in and taking over and replacing researchers, we'll see them more likely augmenting the abilities of researchers, giving researchers a whole new set of power tools to enhance their own ingenuity, so to speak.
Precisely. And just as AI can learn from the massive amounts of data that we feed into it, we as researchers can also learn from AI, right? So by studying how AI approaches these different research tasks, we might actually gain some really interesting new insights into our own research processing. We might even be able to pinpoint areas where we can improve our own efficiency or explore entirely new methodologies.
It's like having this fresh set of eyes or a fresh set of algorithms, I guess, on our research questions, right?
Yeah.
And that's a whole new perspective that could lead to some really unexpected breakthroughs.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that this entire field of AI, especially when it comes to research, it's still very much in its early stages. I mean, think about, the early days of the internet or even, back when personal computers were first becoming a thing. There were limitations, there were challenges, and yeah, even a fair bit of skepticism. But I mean, look at the incredible progress we've made since then, right?
Yeah, it's a great point. We tend to overestimate what technology can do right now in the short term.
Yeah.
But we often underestimate its potential impact in the long run.
Exactly. And that's why this research on AI and research is so incredibly valuable, because it's not just about what AI can do today. It's about, opening these doors and exploring what it might be capable of in the future. It's really about pushing those boundaries of what's possible,
This has been a really, really insightful deep dive into this world of AI and research. And it seems like those sci-fi dreams, the ones where AI is taking over research labs, I think those might be a little bit far-fetched, at least for now, right? But the potential here for collaboration, for AI to become this really powerful tool in the hands of researchers, I think that feels very, very real.
I completely agree. It's definitely an exciting time to be working in AI and in research.
Indeed. And for our listeners, we will leave you with this thought-provoking question. If if AI continues to, to develop and it gets better, improves its ability to actually handle these really complex research tasks, what skills will be the most valuable for the researchers of tomorrow? Will we need to like adapt our approaches, maybe develop entirely new skill sets, or perhaps even, take a step back and really redefine what it actually means to be a researcher in this new world?
I think those are some really, really important questions. And those are the questions that those of us working in these fields are going to be, grappling with for years to come.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today on this deep dive. It's always a real pleasure picking your brain.
The pleasure was all mine, really. Until next time.